Welcome back to the People's Business Live. Ms. Webster, let's talk about the other concerns with respect to persons parking in areas reserved for senior citizens and some of the abuses that our senior citizens face.
Well, besides the normal ones that we are familiar with, like the chain snatching, etc., there's a whole gamut of other instances that we may not view as abuse. For example, as you mentioned, parking in the spaces reserved for seniors or reserved for those who are handicapped. I mean, that is definitely an abuse. And then we have the other situation, like Mr. Bushell experienced it coming here this evening. He was merrily driving along, and up comes a motorcyclist, reared up in front of him, waved at him, and roared off. And we have more and more of those complaints. I've heard about it myself. And Admiral is forever talking about that as well. And that is really something of concern to us, because senior citizens, their reflexes are not as good as when they were, and that's expected. Your reflexes are not supposed to be as good at 80 as when you were 50. And something like that, especially if you're a little hard of hearing, could end up causing an accident, or could be the cause of an accident on the highways, you know. So that's one of the areas of concern.
Mr. Bushell, I know you're an organizer, so I was wondering to what extent would BARP be involved with advocating against such things that they consider to be offensive to older persons? Have you started to table anything that you would want BARP members to come and agitate over or concerning?
These areas that we have been talking about for a little while now, in case of the crime, the case of the purse snatching and stuff, we've met with the police about it. We have met with Crime Stoppers, and we're going to start a program with Crime Stoppers, especially aimed towards crimes against the elderly. So we're always also active in that area, seeing where what we can do to mitigate this problem. One of the things that concerns us about is crimes against the elderly. Has to do with a lot of people. No, I say a lot of people. There are a number of people who are complaining to us and telling us about stories about where elderly people are being virtually robbed. People are taking the pension checks. People are taking money. People are taking them to the bank, making them make withdrawals. To me, that's serious abuse. Most alarming is that when we talk about it, we find out it is usually their relatives.
Yeah.
Or some trusted person from the church. I have to say that.
Okay.
And that's a concern for us. We get reports this is happening. There's one case we're dealing with now, but the police are involved, obviously. But many times, the old folks, when it happens, either are not able or not knowledgeable enough to know what steps they can take. So only after somebody finds out and talks about it that we get involved in it.
So Ms. Webster, do you think that there is need for BARP to offer services in terms of assisting elderly persons? Let's say they want to bring their pensions to BARP and have you administrate to them on a monthly basis, or BARP, that's something that BARP would not want to be involved with?
That is not something that we have looked at. And it's something that would require serious analyzing before. What I would say is that right now we do not have the resources to do that, but if it were something that could benefit our members and members asked us to consider it, I'm sure that we would consider it, but right now we are not doing that.
Okay. In terms of the Personal Assistance Fund, what does this fund comprise of? What is it basically about?
The fund in I think 1999, the members decided that they needed to have a fund because we found that there were some members who were becoming destitute. The pensions were not going as far as it should go, and they had come on a particular emergency at the time. The roof started to leak, had a particular medical problem that I had to take care of, and we started that Personal Assistance Fund. So there's a committee that looks after that Personal Assistance Fund. The committee comprised of two persons who were former members of the National Assistance Board. One was the director of the National Assistance Board and the treasurer. And they looked at all the cases that are brought before them. And either they help them either by way of monetary assistance or pointing them, or we'll take them sometimes to the welfare department and walk them right through the process, because what they require we can't provide. Okay. So that's what is done. That fund is funded by donations from the members, mainly from our car raffle. Our car raffle has not gone off this year because we are still awaiting approvals to bring any car duty free for the government. We are highly optimistic that we're going to get that, because we've had it all the time before, and we expect to be hearing shortly that will be available to us, because it's very important. This helps.
And this is a benevolent fund. The person is not required to repay.
No, it's a grant. It's a grant.
It's a grant.
Because of one time, because it's an immediate emergency.
Getting back to reverse mortgages, Senator Marshall, I want to ask you this question. The mere fact that you're talking about reverse mortgages, doesn't that raise a red flag that the retired person is in some financial difficulty or is heading towards some sort of financial difficulty?
I have to say that perhaps you are taking a pessimistic view of the reverse mortgage. I said to you that many of our members, as well as the wider community, can be said to be asset rich and cash poor. Being cash poor does not mean that you have financial difficulty. It means you do not have a lot of disposable funds. Asset rich, if you go around this country, you'll see lots of houses where the windows are falling apart, the door is about to come off. The owners are unable to meet that type of expenditure and maintain the property. And that's where a reverse mortgage would come in. On top of that, the proposal that we've put on the table, and let me say we've written the commercial banks, we've written the financial houses, we've written the insurance companies and the co-ops. Let me say that we recommend, first of all, that you should be 62 years old or above. We also recommend that not less than 40% and not more than 70% of the value of the property should be lent. So the possibility of a crisis ought not to emerge. Still further, we would want to recommend, certainly to our members, that they have a calculation of the interest which might accrue on that mortgage, put aside in a credit account earning interest, so that the amount owed on the property does not escalate.
Well, what are the different types of reverse mortgages currently on the market? Not in Barbados, because we don't have it in Barbados as yet. What are some of the, could you just describe briefly the different types of reverse mortgages?
There's several. Very quickly, you can either take a lump sum, you could take annual payments, you could take half-yearly, quarterly, monthly. You could also not take payments at all directly, but allow the lending agency to pay your land tax, your house insurance, or whatever.
You're basically talking about in terms of how the bar is able to access the money. You could have, as you said, the monthly annuity, you could probably have the line of credit, you could have a lump sum, or you could have a combination of all. But what I was getting at in terms, the research that I did suggests that there's a single purpose mortgage, there's a home equity conversion mortgage, and there's another one which slips my mind right now. And the reason why I asked the question, because the single purpose mortgage, reverse mortgage, is only for one particular purpose, which is specified by the lending agency. So in terms of what you've set on the table, the type of mortgage that you would want here in Barbados would be specifically what?
It would not be a single purpose.
Okay, it would not be a single purpose.
The bar has the right to determine the use of the money. The lender must be sufficiently careful to make sure that the property has a value that will ride the day.
Okay. So in terms of home ownership, there are some cases in which the borrower must own all the debt to the house must be paid up. But there are some cases where, as I understand it, that if the amount owed is minimal, the mortgage lender will consider that and include that in the amount they are going to take. So what I want to ask in terms of the type of home, I own a chattel house, it's a board house. Would I still qualify for a reverse mortgage once I go to my banker?
Well, I really can't speak for your banker. What I would say is that a prudent banker would be cautious about lending on a chattel house. But it is not impossible, because some of the chattel houses are very well kept and are in good shape. Obviously, I would think that the amount which one could borrow on a chattel house would be fairly minimal.
Okay, I'm going to come back to the reverse mortgages, because I'm sure that part will interest a number of persons. But Mr. Bushell, in terms of the longevity of BARP, what are some of the areas, the priority areas that BARP would like to see for its membership in terms of a true government facilitation? What are the priority areas?
Well, besides the question of the question of the VAT, removal of the VAT, etc., we've been pursuing. What we're always looking at is improving the quality of life of our members as well. And as you might know, we are in the process we're in the planning process of putting a facility in St. Philip at 6 Crossroads. And that's going to need some government facilitation in terms of well, I don't want to go into details of it. However, what we're planning is to have a facility up there, and we're going to do it in phases. It's going to be built off in phases. We plan to start with a daycare facility, going on to extended care, etc., assisted care, etc. So that's one of the long-term and major projects that we have in terms of the membership, what we want to do for the membership in the future. Because as you said, we are all aging, and this is an area that we are particularly concerned about and looking at the quality of care for the elderly. What happens to a person after they reach a certain age? Is the quality of care, the standards there to make sure that they still can enjoy a really good life.
Ms. Webster, in terms of regional outreach, how many other associations similar to BARP have Barbados made connection with?
There's several other organizations, like-minded organizations in the region, and last year Mr. Bushell spoke at meetings in St. Lucia. This year as well, he attended the one in Jamaica, which is called the Caribbean Community of Retired Persons, even though it's Jamaican and primarily for Jamaicans. Then there's the Grenadian organization. Recently, we've been talking with the several associations in Dominica. They are very much interested in BARP. They have a number of small, disjointed, disconnected organizations, and they want to set up an umbrella organization similar to what we have in Barbados. And of course, the rest of the region is aware that Barbados has a very well-run and very well-recognized association, so much so that in Barbados it
is even if you do say so yourself.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's what they say.
Mr. Bushell has a favorite statement. He usually says that most Barbadians consider BARP to be a rite of passage.
Right.
And it really is so. People cannot wait to be 50 to join the organization. So there is room for us to join with the other organizations who are looking to us for guidance, the other regional organizations who are looking to us to guide them in how to become a similar type of organization, and maybe to have some sort of umbrella or regional organization to represent elderly, I don't like the term elderly, let's just say senior citizens regionally.
There you have it. BARP reaching out to seniors throughout the region as well as in Barbados. We'll be right back after the break. Please join us then.